Hello, everyone, and welcome to the stream. I see Kari's already here. Thanks for being here. I believe Natalie is here as well. Thank you guys for coming again. Hopefully, there's no audio issues this time. It looks like it's coming through fine, so hopefully, everything is good. Please let me know. Yeah, no audio issues at this time. Perfect. Cool. Okay. Just to make everyone aware, for chatting coming in, I can see chats from Twitch. I can see chats from YouTube coming in. From what it looks like, YouTube is about 30 seconds behind, and Twitch is about 10 seconds. So just in case there's timing for me to get to your comments, that's why. So we're going to continue from last time, just as a little reminder. Actually, I should pull that up quick before we start. That. Where is it? Where's the... Just looking for the tier list, whatever. It's fine. I'll just leave it off the side. Okay, glad the sound is good. Okay, so from what it looks like, recommended. So 10 to 7 is games that I would recommend, highly like. 6 to 4 are games that I enjoy, I'll still own, but I don't have like the immense want or need to play. And then 3 through 1 are games that if I have them in my collection, I should probably remove them if I already haven't. I went through my list from A to D last time. Now I'm going to be going E through however far I can get. My goal is to get to the end of the list. I'm not sure if I can, but there were a lot of A through Ds. So hopefully this list will go a lot faster. Okay, so, and if you guys have any questions about the games while I'm going through them, please just drop it in as a question. I can, kind of check on that, see if everything's going good, as well as, answer anything. And then, if you got any questions, just throw them down. So going through the list. eBay Buy It Now, I have it. I haven't played it yet. So I have to skip that one because I do not know how to rate it. Edge of Darkness. Edge of Darkness is a very cool but very overproduced game. This is how it looks when you set it up on the table. It takes up the entire table. It is very overproduced. It does not need this many parts. It doesn't need everything to be this big. That is probably my biggest complaint, just because it never gets to the table as much as it should, because it's a beast to set up. But it's a really cool game. It has a tower here that drops out cubes into different sections that choose the monster that attacks you. You're crafting cards by putting them in sleeves and having a top, middle, and bottom that all do various effects as you're playing throughout the game, and you place out your workers onto these outer locations to gain their abilities and to pick up the cards. I really like the game. I will probably give that a 7. I would recommend it. I think it's a good choice to buy. I think that the production, the amount of it, basically takes it down to a 7 just because it's so overproduced. It would cost a lot compared to what it should with all the extra bits in it. Elder Sign. Elder Sign is basically a dice placement game where you are basically rolling your character, moving them from place to place, and trying to complete these challenges on the cards. They have a specific order you have to do them in, or one that are super important that you have to place first. You'll basically get rewards at the bottom of the cards, whether if you succeed or fail, and you're trying to accomplish a goal of basically sealing off the portal before you have to fight. If you succeed, you don't have to fight a big boss at the end. If you do not succeed, you'll have to deal with the boss and fight them, and usually most people die when they get to that point. I think it's a really fun game. It's very enjoyable. Let's see. I don't think it has that many issues in the gameplay. I'm deciding between a 7 and an 8 because I would recommend it to a lot of people, but the theme Cthulhu doesn't really get people most of the time. A lot of people I know don't really care for it. So I'll put this one as a 7 as well. I'd love to make it higher. I can't see it. Yeah, Natalie said this is one of the few cooperative games that she enjoys. I can understand that. It's one of those that you cannot alpha game because you can help them go someplace, but you can't help them roll their dice or, choose how to place them. So it works really well in that way. Epic Resort. I love the theme of this game. It's super cute. Let me find there's one of the board. So here's an image of the board. I think it's a very cute game. It's got you have multiple locations in front of you that you'll build up over time, and you will buy people who work at those places and place them below, and that'll allow you to draw in people or have special abilities, and you'll have heroes trying to protect your resorts as you pull in civilians to go and view them, and you'll get either gold or I forget what the other resource is as you play, and then you'll use that money to buy stuff for yourself and everything. It's a really interesting game, and it works very different from a lot of other ones that I've played. And it kind of actually just looking at it kind of makes me want to play it because it's been a while for me. But the one major downside of this game is basically no matter how much gold you build up, next turn it goes back down to 0, or it's the other resource that might just go back down to 0. And so it's good because it balances the game a little bit, but I feel like having one resource stay there and the other one get docked down all the way kind of feels cheap. I think there could have been a better way to do that, but overall the game plays really well. I like it. It does have some issues, but what I'm going to do is I don't think it deserves a 5 rating. I'm going to give it a 6. Natalie says that she loves this theme, just feels like there's something missing. I totally agree. Yeah, she doesn't know what's missing, no, and I agree with that. I don't know what's missing from it, but it very much has a really interesting theme. I've never seen that where your standard ranger and fighter from a D&D party, they are the ones that are going on vacation, and on their vacation monsters attack. It's really cool because it's a beachy theme with that, and it just seems fun. The Estates is a game I own. It's sitting in my small shelf of games that I do not know how to play as well. So I understand the concept of how to play and the rules, but I have not played it yet, so I can't rate it. Next up, Everdell. Everdell is a amazingly big game. I actually just recently got the collector's edition of Everdell, not the regular collector's edition, the complete collection. I got the latest 2 expansions that came with the giant box, and I put everything in there. So now I have everything. This is just the base game of Everdell, but I'm basing it off of just the base game / what I have for it. This game is amazing. It's a good resource management, tableau building game. The art is gorgeous. A bunch of critters in outfits and stuff. Let me see if I can find another an example of. Yeah, here's the picture of the box. Here's some of the art from the game. It looks gorgeous. And the resources all feel really good to play with. They're all nice chunky wood pieces or these really nice resources. Yeah, I really enjoyed this game. Yeah, look at all the critters. They look awesome. No, I really like this game. I think it deserves the praise that people have given it. It is a 9 for me. I just saw your note that you think it's a 10. 9.5? 9.5? It's really good. I really do like the game, but there's just a couple little things that are stopping it from being a 10 for me. It's really good though. If there was only one game to come into 10, this is still probably my top 10 games. So yeah, it's really good. Ex Libris. Ex Libris is a really interesting concept where you are building out a library of books, and they have to be in alphabetical order. And you can't, I don't even think you can do stuff like this. I don't think you can build on top of a shelf that doesn't exist. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've played and done this. But basically, what you're trying to do is you're trying to build out the library, and you want sets. So these books, like it's red, yellow, blue, blue. That's a monsters. I forget what the yellow symbol is, and then blue is like research or whatever. And so you want to get majority of symbols, and you need to be in alphabetical order, which sounds like it's just a card placement game, but it's not, because there are locations that you are going to send your workers to yeah, here. So you're sending your workers to be able to get cards and to trade cards and to like grab from a new pile and sort, remove and trade your cards, location on your board, and so on. Yeah, I really like this game. I think it's very fun. This game is probably I'm gonna give it an 8. I think it is that good to me. I really like it. Expedition, the role playing game. I will be a little bit biased on this one. I've only played it twice, and one of those times I played by myself, which it's meant to be a multiplayer kind of experience. Um, Natalie says that you can build on nothing but before counting points. Oh, it would fall through. Thank you. I couldn't remember what the rule is on that for the books. So Expedition, the role playing game, it's an app driven game where basically you flip a card and trigger the app, and you kind of like go back and forth between the two to create kind of like this epic storytelling adventure. I really liked it when I first got it, but it just never comes to the table because I don't think it gives the experience people want when they think board game or card game. And I would need to play this more to really give it a good try again. But I'm gonna probably have to give this one a 4 in the end. I think it has potential. But I would need to play it more, and I know there's like a newer version of it now that's probably fixed all the issues that I initially had with it. Okay, Family Feud After Hours. It's essentially just a booklet for Family Feud. I don't think it should get a rating, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with a 3. I wouldn't buy it myself. It's something I have in case we have a big group of people to do Family Feud. But it's nothing that I really think is needed. I do have another Family Feud version that's not listed on here, which is like this really old one where you like slide stuff and put cards in, but all the questions are so outdated that half of them are wrong now. Because there was one question where basically it wasn't factual anymore, and I'm like, oh, that's not good. Okay, Fantastic Factories. So Fantastic Factories is an engine building game. What you're going to be doing in the game is on your turn, you'll be rolling some dice. Those dice will get placed in certain spots, which will allow you to get resources. You use those resources to buy these cards. The cards will get you certain resources based on what dice you get, and it just builds and builds and builds. And your goal is to basically get a system down to where you roll decent and the whole thing triggers the way you want to. And I think that then it just keeps generating you victory points. And in the end of so many turns, I think it's when somebody places 10 cards in their field or gets so many points, they win. And both of those generally get met right around the same time. So the game is really well balanced. But the art looks cool, I guess, kind of. Like that stylistic cartoon look. But the theme is so boring. Like it's very generic. I don't know if you can tell by some of these cards. They just like the things look kind of like Lego people. Like that's the detailing of the people. And then where Where's the cards of the buildings? Yeah, and here's, what some of the buildings look like. They look pretty generic. The things don't look super interesting. So the game functions fine and it works well, but I think that the theme really holds it back, and the art does as well. I think it's just an okay game. I've played better engine builders. Fire in the Library. This one I actually played recently. It has this one has really interesting concepts. So essentially, there's this picture with these 4 decks, and every time that you pull books from the bag, you're placing them down. No, that the game that you're thinking of, Natalie, is a different game. It's not the game where you're saving the world. The other one, that is the last game. So this one is Fire in the Library, and there's four decks, and each of these decks basically have a number. Like you can see 1, 2, 5, and 10. And what's going to happen is you're pulling books out of a bag, like little book tokens, and you're trying to save as many books from the library as possible. And if you pull out a red book and you bust, where basically like you pull too many, because there is, let me try to find it. Is there a picture on here of it? I don't see a picture of it. In any case, there's cards that have like certain slots, and if you pull out a fire in the fire area, it will start them on fire, and you'll lose cards over time. And basically, the whole game lasts until all of these cards have been burned away. So when the library burns down, and the goal is to have the most amount of points that you've collected accumulatively over the game by saving the most books and the rare books, because each of the books are worth a different amount at the beginning of the game, and as it gets further, they're all worth higher points. It's a very fast game. It's very quick, but it's very enjoyable. Angela is asking, can we get a link to all of your ratings for future reference? Yes. Let me get you that link. So Fire in the Library, let's see. So I'm going to probably give this one a 6. I think it's a great game. I think it's fun. I don't see it coming out all the time as a game, but I think it's really fun, something that you can play in between. I'm just going to copy this and drop this in the Twitch stream. So there's a link in case you guys want to follow along. I will do that in here as well. So now in YouTube and Twitch I did that, and I will do that. I'll just do that on Facebook right away too. Let's drop it in there. Boom. Okay, cool. Everybody's got it now. Yeah, there's a lot of items in the list. Expansions are included on this list and stuff. Actually, I should filter those out. Let's scroll back up to the top and filter those out, because I did not do that this time. Own, yes. Did I not? Oh, that's right. Because expansions are included in game, you'll see why it's so expensive. So many on the list. I do not actually have 732, but what it does count is like if I have like a little expansion pack of like a ship from like a miniatures game or something, it counts that as a full expansion. Yeah, and that's specifically Star Trek Attack Wing. When we get there, it's basically, you get a small pack of cards that counts as a game, and so it's not extensively that long. So let's get back down into the action. Okay, Forbidden Island. Forbidden Island is a good, I like to say 3 or 4 player game. I think 2 makes it a little bit harder. where you have a bunch of tiles sprawled out in a pattern. They generally start with a circle, but I have a fan expansion that creates different island setups. And you're going to be moving from tile to tile. You have 3 actions on your turn. You can move, you can flip a tile over if it's on the bad side back to the good side, and you can pick up a treasure. And so when you have 4 of the same treasure symbol, you can go to the tile that's associated, how this like Coral Palace has a little chalice. If you have 4 of those chalices, you go to the Coral Palace, you turn it in, you get the one item. And you have to collect 4 items and get off the island before it sinks. It's a really fun cooperative game. There's so much replayability in this. It's kind of very Pandemic-like. It's also made by Matt Leacock, the guy who made Pandemic, which is why I really like it. It feels similar, but you're doing a different task. So this one, I will put as an 8. I'm always willing to play this game. I think it's really fun and really good. Next up is Fort. Fort is a small deck building game. I don't want to say deck building because that's not correct. It's a deck building game, but your deck keeps like losing cards all the time. So you're continuously refining and re-upping your deck to do what it needs to. Your deck in this game is filled with cards about kids, and the kids have specific items that they're associated to kind of play a certain way, and they do certain actions on their cards. Your goal in this game is the kind of the layout of how the game looks, and your goal is you want to get a bunch of pizza, you want to have a bunch of toys in your backpack, and you're going to basically be expending those and using those in ways to upgrade your fort that you have to make your fort better, and you're trying to get like certain cards that build off each other that work well. I think it's a pretty fun game. I've only played it a couple times. I do want to get the cat and dog expansion, which adds like another element and layer to the game. But this is one I definitely have to play more because I have not played it enough. I will give, right now, I'm going to give it a 6. I think it's good. It's not quite at the point where it's something I would recommend all the time. But I just need to probably give it more plays. Okay, next is Fuse. Fuse is a real-time game. What I mean by that is the box says 10 minutes on it. It's going to take you 10 minutes to play the game. So there are cards that look like this, or cards that look like this. And what you're doing is you are trying to roll as fast as you can, and you're placing dice on your board, and people are grabbing dice from you. So basically, like I roll, like let's say 5 dice because I'm playing with so many people, and I get to pick the first dice, and everybody else gets to pick a die for themselves. And then we place it on one of our boards, and the next person grabs 5 dice and do that, and we keep going because we're all working together to defuse this bomb. And these sequence of cards are different. Like this is a 2 difficulty, and something like this is a 1 difficulty. And you have to complete so many of each type, and there's colors and numbers. And the goal is by the time that the time reaches 0, you want to all have all the cards in the center gone. And there's only so many outs. You have to be picky and choosy on which of the couple you pick when you finish your, because you have 2 of them in front of you at once that you're working on. Natalie enjoys this game, I think, more than I do. I think it's fun, fast-paced, it goes quick, but it's very dependent on the people you play it with. I think that if you play it with the right people, it can be a great game, but if you're playing it with people who do not deal well with stress in board games, this is not going to go well. I think this falls in that area of I would recommend it to people who like those type of games. I wouldn't who don't. I'm going to put it right at a 5. I feel like it fits there. It might be a little bit higher because it is very fun, but 5 seems right. Okay, next, Thief. Thief is a game where you're basically, it's really simple. You have, at the beginning of the game, you pull out two tiles or two circle tokens, and you place them on the bottom of your board. So you can see they're the two spots where you placed both of them there. And then on your next turn, what you're going to do is one of those gets placed, and then you draw and pick a new tile for your next turn to place in that spot. And you have to pick one of those two tiles to place out. Your goal is you're trying to get all these different goals and objectives done. Oh, Natalie would give Fuse a 7, it looks like. Yeah, she'd rate it a little bit higher than I did. So you're trying to get stuff in this game like a 1 of each color in a row, or a 1 through 5, or a 5 through 1 in a specific direction, or like a full house where it's like two twos and 3 ones or something like that. And so you're trying to get as many as you can from different directions. If you're the first one to achieve that goal, you get a bonus 3 points for that row. And each of those things are worth a certain amount of victory. And at the beginning of the game, it's really easy, but as your board starts to fill up, you have to put stuff in spots you don't want to. And so it makes it really tight and really hard to get all the points that you want to get. This is one of my newer games that I picked this last year up at Gen Con. I got it so we could play with my parents because I figured it'd be really easy. It is a lot harder than I thought it would be. But it's... the biggest issue is there's so many pieces because it's expecting you to play a 4-player game with it that you do not sometimes run into the pieces that you want to run into. So with this game, I think I'm gonna put it a 7. I think it's good enough to be a 7 because the base gameplay is really good. Ikari made a comment about how the Fuse game sounds like it would stress him out. It'll make him stressed without even having his boss breathing down his neck. That's awesome. Yeah, it does. Games like that, real-time games for board gaming are very stressful, and they're very hard to deal with, and you either enjoy them or you don't. There was a game that I actually recently got that we haven't run into on the list that is a real-time game, but Natalie and I are playing the introduction version of the game, where basically you remove the real-time element and you just go back and forth. Ikari says he's got to make confession for the sake of time. Sorry of my life. No, it's good. No, I get it. You live and work in Japan. Japan's work culture is not a really a good thing. It's very stressful from what I'm aware of. So the Game of Things is next. This is one of Natalie's games that she had before we got together. It's a very simple social party game type of thing. I'll actually just pull up the thing. So the cover, for example, things you shouldn't say to your in-laws, things you wish things you wish worked by remote control and stuff like that. And you write stuff down. It's a simplistic party game. It's fine. It's, to me, that game's, it's nothing special, but it's one of those you can just pull out whenever, you need something like that. For me, it's a rarely want to play. I could see it being a lot higher for other people, but I feel like there's other social party games that do similar things but do it better. Go. I love the year that this came out. Negative 2,200. Because this is like the oldest game ever. I really like Go. I have my own Go board. I actually have multiple. I think it is a great game. I think it is very fun to play. I didn't rate chess or checkers initially, but I am going to rate Go. I really like this game. I'm going to probably put it... I'm going to say 6. I'm going to put it at 6. Because I would put it at 7, but Go's not a game that I recommend to people. It's one of those that I just... I really I enjoy, but I feel the learning curve is way too steep for Go for most people to enjoy it. But if anybody wants to play, go with me. I'm totally down. Like, I really enjoy it. Angela says that we mix things with apples to apples, and it's way more fun. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of apples to apples. I was in high school because I never saw a game like that before, and it was the introductory to that social party experience. But it soon died off for me when other games kind of did that stuff, but better for me. Natalie says she misses Miller. Hey man, I do too. I miss you a lot. And then it said it's tough. I think goes great, but it is definitely a thinker of a game and can really wear the player out. It can. I actually lost one time with a 9-stone advantage to someone, and it was insane. Like, it's such a brain burner, and yeah, it's such a good game though. It's like there's so much thought put into Go, and the fact that like AI, it was so hard up until like a few years ago to get an AI to be a human player, like a professional human player. Okay, next up, Gravity Warfare. Gravity Warfare is probably the best dexterity game I have ever played. The rulebook is complete crap. The rulebook kind of goes, here's like what you should do when playing, but it doesn't really give you like a defined rule set, so I had to come up with my own for that. And this is basically how it is in the game, going around the table, you're supposed to place it somewhere on the board. You roll a die. Those dice show you specific regions on the ship, on where you're supposed to play it on the board here. And then you place them with your hands. But then there's cards that are like, you have to place it with chopsticks, or you have to place it while it's spinning, or blindfolded. People can like put those cards together to make you place it in weird ways. And the goal is to get all of your pieces onto the board, or to be the first one to not have any pieces in front of you, or not cause the whole thing to tip. So either there's one winner or there's one loser. Yeah, and so like here are some of the cards, and this is how they look. I think the graphic design for this game is not very good visually. Like, it looks okay, but the concept of the game and the execution of the game is fantastic. I will put this at a 7. I will always recommend to buy this if people are looking for a dexterity game. It's not something that I would want to play all the time, though. Natalie says, I wouldn't think that Go would be a beautiful game, but it is. It's like a modern and simple and true same time elegance. Yeah. To me, it's probably one of the best abstract strategy games that like exists. I know there's a couple others that do a really good job, and Andy Worm knows all those in terms of their titles and stuff. But like Go is so simple. Like, the rule set is so simple, but it's such a good game. Greedy Kingdoms. I will go to the 2018 release of Greedy Kingdoms. They're the same game, but this is the one that Miller played with me. So this was a really fun because it's specifically 2 players. And what you're doing in it is you have a handful of characters, and each of them have like a cost to play and then a benefit for the card. And the goal is you're playing 3 of these characters out of these 7, but half of them you can't even afford because, you know, they cost a ridiculous amount. But playing them, if the other person plays that same character, they get canceled out. So you might play cards, and then each of you only have 1 character that you can trigger. And if you planned it so that the resource from this character gives, you know, this character the ability to act, it sucks when all of a sudden you tie having that character with the other person. And so you can upgrade all of these to make them all better. You remove the basic card and put the upgraded one in your hand so that you still have the same cards. But it's really neat because you're basically battling for resources, and then with the resources, you're buying stuff in the center to try to get the most victory points. I super like this game. It has some minor issue of like a runaway victory. When somebody gets ahead, they can just steamroll it because they can overpower you. But that's why I'm giving it a 6. It's still a great game. It's very enjoyable, but it doesn't play as good as it probably should. Grimoire. This is a game I would love to play more, but like nobody seems to want to play this one with me. It's kind of disappointing. Uh, the game comes with you have a spell book for each character, and it's played over a series of 12 rounds. Every round you unlock a new page in your spell book. That spell does something very specific, and when you go to do it, if someone has the same spell as you, they cancel each other out, and or well, not really. You get forced to the end of the turn order. And a lot of times it's important for the higher spells to go first. And so like as you're going through it, you're trying to balance yourself of what do I want to play and when do I want to play it, and hopefully I don't match with someone. And you're trying to collect items, people, and all this kind of stuff to help you out throughout the game. I really like this game. I think it's super fun. I like the artwork. It's very anime in style because this is a Japanese game. So like I really like it, but I don't get to play it very much. So I'm gonna probably give this one a. Should I give it a 5? I'm gonna give it a 6. I think it's good enough to be a 6. And now rating both 6. Sorry, Go is getting 7. I'm moving it up because like Go is a better game than both of those, but I do really enjoy those. Guess Who? Guess Who is a standard base game. I don't know what version we have, but I actually have been thinking about specific versions of Guess Who that I want to build. So I need to go out and buy some basic Guess Who ones and print some stuff for the people, because I want to do a board game version of Guess Who where basically they're board games. You're trying to describe them to people, because I think that would be really fun. But Guess Who is a basic, simple game. As a game itself, I'm probably just going to rate it a 2. I don't think it's that interesting. I guess it's like deduction, but I don't think it's that fun. Okay, Guillotine. Guillotine. It's a revolutionary card game where you win by getting ahead. And that's funny because you're seriously lining up nobles to chop their heads off. So the game looks like this, where there's a row of cards, and the card that's about to get their head chopped off is the card that player's turn they will take. But the cards in your hand allow you to change the positions of the people in line so that you can guarantee yourself to picking up either the highest point card, or you're moving a lower card in the way of the next person to take, or you're trying to get like certain people in your hand so you can have like a grouping of people that are worth more. It's a very fun, fast game. It's very enjoyable. I really like it. Most people I know do not know this game except for like my gaming group, because I've tried talking to people and they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I think this is a 7. I think it's a great game I think it's one that's like works great for like, hey, let's sit down for 15 minutes and play this game. Boom, it's a great one. Okay, Heap. Man, this is in my pile of games that I'm like, I bought this a long time ago. I learned how to play. I played it one time, and then nobody would play this with me. I think the card art looks super interesting. It feels like very like Road Rash, kind of what is that, Twisted Metal-y kind of in its like design, and with cards and like the battle cars. Where are the cars? Like the art on here, because it's like goblins driving these like put together vehicles and stuff where you get to do stuff that you cause mayhem and so on. It is a really cool and interesting looking game. I have not played it much. I feel like I can't rate it, so I'm going to move past because I would not be able to judge it properly. Hex XL. This is a game that I have a lot of history with. I disagree with the ranking here on Board Game Geek. Hex is a very simple game. It's actually the game that my game that I've worked on with other people called The Hexed that's going to be releasing is based off of. If you look at the cards and the art and stuff, it's very similar to it in its origin. You're basically playing hot potato. You're passing around these hexes. Oh, I just realized how dark it is on the screen. I'm gonna. There we go. Get some light in here. Bam. There is a hex token on the table that acts like a hot potato. You play a card, it moves to somebody else in the direction or in the way that the card is stated. The thing about this is hex can be duplicated, multiplied, flying around. You can boost them and make them more powerful and so on. This game gets insane really quick, and it plays as long as however many people you have. There's 5 people. You play around the table the whole time. 5 different turns or rounds, and the game's over. Whoever has the most points wins. It's simple. It's clean. It's elegant. It is a great game. It seems really simple, but I will choose this for a party game if people are willing every single time. Natalie mentioned that Hex XL was one of our centerpieces at our wedding, which it totally was because we did a board game table theme at our wedding where each table was a board game. Hex XL is, for me, getting a 9. It's that good of a game. I love it. I don't understand why people don't like it as much as they do. It is fantastic. It's probably... I'm not going to put my own game into this category, but out of all of Smirk and Dagger games, Hex XL is by far like one of my favorites until Tesseract releases. Then Tesseract will probably become my go-to Smirk and Dagger game as my favorite. High School Drama. This game is hilarious and fantastic. It's really simple in its play. I do not think it's that exciting or fun to play. But if you play it with people who really get into it, it is hilarious. Because you have these people, they have 3 stats. Their coolness, how cruel they are, and how much heart they have. And those are just simple, basic stats, but they also have, they belong to different groupings, cliques, or clubs. And then you also have sporting things or clubs or whatever, and you're hooking people together through clubs and creating this like weave or network of card hookups that kind of show like your high school experience. And the more people you have, the more people you're connected to, the more signatures you get at the end of the game, which is how you score points. It's a really fun game, but the only problem is if you're just sitting there playing cards and then waiting and playing cards, it is very boring. You really do need to like dive into it with your like a little bit of role play, or a little bit like I decided to do this, and this person decided to become my best friend, and we chatted about this, and this guy this, and da-da-da. Yeah, it's one that could be enjoyable depending on who you play it with. I'm going to give it a 5 just because I feel like it needs to it needs to be played with the right people. That's it. Okay, Hive. Yeah, almost drank my soda upside down. Hive is a really good 2-player abstract strategy game. Each piece, that's a bug, which I don't know why they chose bugs. I guess they started with the Hive concept of the hex and just went from there. But each bug basically has a specific ability. And your goal is to do a bunch of different things with your bugs to trap their queen. You're trying to like surround it so that they can't have theirs escape. I think the queen's a B with this. And so each of the pieces move completely different. One of them like moves around the outside. Another one like jumps in a straight line across everyone. I think it's super interesting game. It can be super fun. I have the travel version, so I can play if I take it someplace. I have not played this that much. I do not remember what all the different pieces do. It's been so long. It's sitting behind in my game shelf behind a bunch of other games. I think it's a great game for people who travel a lot or are looking for something more abstract. I'm going to put this as a 5 as well. So Hive Pocket. Hive Pocket is what I have. I'm going to throw that just as a 5 so I can have that rating because they're the exact same game. Hot Shots. Hot Shots is a game about hot shots, people putting out fires, for wildfires. So there's a board, and it looks like this, and this is how kind of, oh wow, that, yeah, he definitely got burnt up there. It starts looking normal, and over the time, fire starts up on the board and blows certain ways because of the wind, and you're basically sending your team out to roll certain results to push back the fire and to stop it from spreading. I think the theme for this game is excellent. I think a lot of the tokens are really good in this game, especially the fire. It's an enjoyable experience. It's a really nice game. It's something that doesn't hit my table a lot because I don't think the theme really grabs people, but I think that the game mechanics, the way they're set up, is made from the theme. The theme was thought of before a lot of the mechanics. So for this one, I'm going to say I'll probably put it at a 6. It's still a good game. It doesn't come out very often. Hues and Cues. Hues and Cues is another social kind of party game, and it's a wonderful color-based game. So you have basically a grid of colors, and you pick a card out, and you can find out where it is by the letter and the number, and then you're supposed to try to describe that color the best you can using only a single word. And so you'll be like, honey, and they're supposed to find this like specific orange that they think is honey, and they put out one of their colors out on the board in a specific spot, and everybody does that. And then you give them a second clue to help them maybe narrow it. Like if I gave the clue B for yellow and they went black with the color, I might then be like, I might say like warning or whatever, and then they're like, oh my god, it was supposed to be yellow or however, and then they try to pick the best color, and then after they place their 2 pieces, you put this little 3x3 grid on it, and everybody will get points inside of that space as well as outside. And you can never place in the same spot as somebody else. So even if you're off by 1, you'll still get points. It just won't be as much. So Hues and Cues. I definitely would recommend buying this one. I think it works great for social parties because it's so impossible to describe color. Imperial Settlers. So Imperial Settlers is a very extensive game where it feels very real-time strategy, like computer game wise, where you're basically building some basic buildings and then using those buildings and their resources to build more elaborate buildings that have to do with whatever faction you're playing or civilization. And especially because they have like Roman, the Japanese, a barbarian group. They have Atlanteans. They have Amazonians. They have a bunch of different stuff. And this is a really fun game. It takes a while to play. The playtime is a little bit longer because first turn is like really fast, but there's only, 6 turns in the game, maybe? But every turn, you're just continuously getting more and more resources, playing more and more cards, and it takes a while to get through. It's a very fun game. Highly recommend it. But if you're not into those civilization, real-time strategy-like games, you will probably not enjoy this. It does take a lot of resource management to play it. I'm going to give this a 7 because I will not always want to play this. But it's definitely one that is fun. Those are all the expansions for it. Okay, Imperious. I'm going to be skipping that because I learned how to play it, but I haven't played it yet. It's on my shelf of games that I'm like, please play with me. And I got the 2 expansions when I bought the game. Inner Circle. Inner Circle is a classic game that like nobody knows about. This is a game I played a shit ton as a kid. Let me pull up the box art. Oh yeah, you can see how wonderfully new that game is. It's really simple. Basically, in the outer edge is where everybody places their pieces at the beginning of the game. And then on your turn, you pick a piece. You go this piece, and you lift it up. When you lift it up, it says a number in there, and you can only move in a straight line. And so If you are here and it's 1, you move forward 1, perfect, you're fine. But if you're here and you have to move forward 2, you either go 2 this way onto this 3 that's here, or 2 this way onto this 1 over here. And then you could jump into any one of these next turn, but that wastes a whole turn. And so it's really particular on which ones you move. Once all the spots are filled up, you lift it up, and then there's a new tray below. And if you look here, it shows that there are 4 trays that you have to go through. And then the last hole that's in the center is it lifts up, and there's only 1 winner at the end. I played this game a lot as a kid. I'm very biased on this. Oops, wrong game. I'm very biased on this one. It does have some issues, so I'm going to drop it down probably a 6. But the fact that it's like, this is a classic game and it's up there with my newer modern games, I'm a little biased, but it's a great game. Okay, Island Siege. This is a pretty cool game. I want to play this again. I've played it twice and haven't played it since. I have actually 2 copies of this game because it can be played as a 4-player game if you buy another copy. I bought another copy because I wanted the metal coins that come with it. I wanted the extra meeples. And I wanted to eventually play this 4 players. So I never got to, so I have 2 copies that I'm just sitting on. And I want to replay this because what you're doing is basically you're building castles. And you're building up these blocks on there. And you're building ships and a bunch of different things. And your goal is to kind of protect your side. And you're going out, sailing across, and attacking the other person's stuff. Pretty simple, pretty interesting. To me, what's more fascinating is the building of the walls and trying to make ships that work to your advantage. Right now, since it's been a really long time since I've played this game, I'm probably going to give it a 5 because I'd probably put it at a 4, but I really want to play it again, so I put it at a 5 because I feel like it has good replay because I haven't gotten rid of it yet. Like, I have not removed it from my collection, and there's a reason. Isle of Skye. So Isle of Skye is, to me, probably what most people's Carcassonne is. Carcassonne's a simplistic tile laying game. This is the same thing, but instead of building off a center board, what you're doing is here, this is a good picture for it. On your turn, you have multiple tiles, and then you're betting on which one you want to keep, which ones you want to keep. You're keeping money back there to hold on to those, or people have to pay you that much to get that tile from you. And then you are axing one. You're basically taking one out of the game. So the 2 on the right, in this case, are being kept, and then somebody has a chance to buy one of those 2. And then whatever you keep or whatever you buy from their players, you add on and build to your board. Every game, there are 4 different win-lose conditions. Let me see if there's a board of the center of the table. There it is. So these 4 spots here that have these openings in the window, those are changed out every game, and there's like 12 of those in the game, so you shuffle them at random and deal them out, and that shows you on turn 1 you only get A, turn 2 you get B, turn 3 you get A and C, turn 4 you get B and D, so you get like multitude of scoring for a bunch of them. And in the end of the game, you total up that, and you total up all the stuff on your tiles that gave you extra bonus and all this stuff, and find out where you score. It's a great game. Isle of Skye is fantastic. I'm going to give it... I'm actually going to give it an 8. I think it deserves an 8. Iwadi. Iwadi is a Native American themed game. The deluxe components in this game look amazing. It's Native American themed. You are basically going around and making little tents of your color in different areas, as well as you're trying to build up the totems for each section. and you will get rewards based off of winning regions by majority of tents, as well as areas around you are winning by your totems. So there's multiple things you're working on scoring at the same time, and it's just a very enjoyable experience. The thing that we're like, this art is basic and simple, but the art of the cards are gorgeous and beautiful. They really pull the whole thing together, even though there's only like 5 pieces of art in here. The symbology that's used looks clean and crisp, and that's all over the board as well. And the totems just look great. Yeah, these symbols and stuff are the symbols that's drawn on the cards. And so the game looks clean. It's very beautiful. I'm excited for expansion stuff that they released with the Kickstarter that they have not released yet to everyone else. That will be releasing eventually. The main like play of this game is area control. You're trying to control as much area as possible. So for people who like Risk or something like that, this falls in that same vein, but there's zero randomness. You're choosing where to place, and you're specifically doing stuff with the cards that you have. I would put this at a 7 because I'm not always willing to play it, but it is a very good game that I would want to play a lot more. Jacuse. Jacuse is technically, I don't want to say, like, it's reverse Clue, but not really. You are a grouping of people. I'm a person, you're a person, that person's a player as well. And the investigator keeps moving around to you, and there's motives, weapons, and opportunities. And you have to try to have the investigator catch people with certain weapons, opportunities, or motives. And once someone has all 3, they lose the game. And so your goal is you don't want to be the one with that stuff, and so you're trying to affect everything by moving weapons, opportunities, and motives across the table or to different people so that they get caught with multiple things in their hand. It is very fun. It's enjoyable. It's very fast-paced. I feel like there are some complications, not in the rules, but in terms of people understanding how to play, because it's very different from a lot of games. So I would probably put this at a 5. I think it's a good game, but it's very confusing to most people as you're trying to like explain how to play. Japanese the game. So I bought this game and a bunch of different expansions. It's actually not a bad game. It is a Japanese learning game. So it's all about trying to learn Japanese. So it has words of like how to say it. It shows the kanji, the kana on top, as well as the romanji. And it kind of explains to you what it is, and its color shows that it's like this one's a noun, and I have one here that's a verb. And what you're doing is you're trying to lay out. This one doesn't show it. Let's see if this one does. Yeah, you're trying to lay them out in an order, and it shows how Japanese sentence structures work. You could make a nonsensical sentence very easy in this game, being like, this pen is actually a Mountain Dew, or whatever. Like, you could make something like that up, which makes no sense, but grammatically and structurally, it actually works. And this game comes with a bunch of different, like, versions, one for Japanese food, business stuff, travel, anime related, and so you can learn some of these words and get more comfortable with the vocab of Japanese while you're actually building structurally good sentences, even if what you're saying is nonsensical. It's a game that actually, Miller, I'd love to play with you sometime. I think it would be a blast because you know way more Japanese than I do, and you would just kind of look at me and go, yeah, that doesn't work, and be like, but by the rules it does. And you could help me figure some shit out with the way that the game's supposed to probably be played better than I know how. So I think this is fun. It's not something I'd recommend for everybody. I probably wouldn't like give it the something I wouldn't want to do all the time. I'll probably give it a 4. But like I said, I think this is, if for a specific group, it would be really good. glad that you had to hear that you'd be down for that, because I think like it would just be crazy fun to hear your thoughts on it. Okay, Jetpack Unicorn. I have nothing to say. Have not played it. It's a social game that Natalie picked out one time, and we still haven't played it. It's sitting in the grouping of games we haven't played. Unfortunately, have a meeting from now, so I got to mute for a bit. Thanks for the stream. If you're going by the time I'm back. Okay, yeah. Good luck with your meeting. Hope it goes well. I'll maybe see you when you get back. Okay, next game, Joking Hazard. Joking Hazard is a game developed by the people who do. Oh my God! Now I'm forgetting. Cyanide and Happiness. There we go. The people who do Cyanide and Happiness. It's a very simple game, but it's super good for a social party game. Basically, the setup is really simple. You're making a 3-panel comic. The judge picks up a card, lays it down, picks one from their hand, and then they choose whether which order that they go in from the first and second card, and everyone needs to place down the third card. And then it makes really fun and enjoyable things, like my son says you touched him inappropriately, and then like he gets art on and they both do. Like, it's just weird stuff like that. Or like, how could this day get any worse? And the guy gets punched and then he poops on the ground. Like it's crude humor, but man, you can make some funny and amusing stuff. I think it's a fun game for social situations. I would recommend this game wholeheartedly. I think it's a 7. It's good stuff. And I have a bunch of the expansions. Is this the one I haven't played yet? Yeah. So Jolly Roger, I have not played yet. It's a really small like box game like this, so I still have not played that one. Pirate theme though. Okay, Jupiter Rescue. This game has some really good art in it, but the board looks extremely boring. Like, this is the board, and they don't have miniatures on this one. That's weird. I have little miniatures for mine. Let me go to, here we go. This looks more accurate. Yeah, so this is how mine looks. It almost looks like, like a zombie game. But essentially, you're just trying to get as many people off the station as possible. And you're, jettisoning sections. You're sending pods in to, like, collect people and get out of there. And you're trying to rescue as many people as possible. But the art for the game gives it that, like, retro futurism that I really like for, like, it's a fun and interesting style. And I really like it. And you're trying to save, so many people before, the mission fails. So as soon as you lose this many people, game over. It's a game it's a good game. It's just something that I don't want to play all the time. I'm going to probably rate it at a 5. I think it deserves to be better. There's some things that they could do to probably make it better, but for a cooperative game, it works pretty well. Katana. This is a small game that I ran into a rules problem, and I can't figure it out. I don't know how some stuff works. This is a game I bought on a whim, thinking it'd be really good. I love the art for it. It looks so clean. It gives me that, like, old school Japanese, like, military vibes. Just look at how beautiful all these cards are. They look really clean and nice, but I ran into an issue when I was playing and I couldn't figure out how to play it right. I need to relook up the rules to play it properly, because the first rule book was so bad that they sent a second one, and I read through and I still was confused by it. But I'm going to give it, probably a lower ranking. I'm going to put it at a 4 right now. I think it probably deserves to be higher, but I just don't understand the game well enough to give it a better rating. Okay, King of New York. This is a sequel game to King of Tokyo. I like King of New York better than King of Tokyo. I find the rules for King of Tokyo are so easy to abuse for certain people. Especially when you're playing with a large group of people. It has the same type of feel and aesthetic where you have victory and health, and you're playing these giant kaiju-like creatures, playing cards that let you do different things that rarely come out, and you're traipsing around different places in New York, knocking down buildings to gain health and victory and all this kind of stuff. It's fun. It's simple. I'm not a big fan of King of Tokyo, and King of New York is just basically the same game, but a little bit better for me. I'm going to probably give this a 5. It's fine. It has some issues. Meh. Kingdom Builder. I have a lot of expansions for Kingdom Builder. It pains me to say I threw away my original box because I tried to put everything into an expansion box that was smaller, and then I bought more expansions, and now everything like barely fits in that box. I really like the game. I don't play it enough to remember all the different powers and abilities, but to say it simply is the board is randomly picked 4 pieces out of like the 16 that I have. You lay them down, and each of the boards have a special power to do with each section. So if someone places their settlement next to that, they get that power. And the restriction is when you play, you have to play a card of a terrain type, desert, forest, flowers, whatever, and your pieces have to go there. If you have pieces in that section that are next to like forests, and you get a forest card, you have to play in a forest. So if you're touching an area, you have to play in it. And so you have to be very particular about how you place your pieces down, especially some of the powers will force you to play it in a certain way, where you're playing more little houses or settlements or whatever than other players. And so you have to be very careful with how you place them because you could screw yourself over. A lot of people have referenced this game saying it's very similar to Go in terms of you're putting down pieces on the board, it stays there, it doesn't move, and the whole thing is about territory grabbing and doing specific actions. I think it does have a similar feel to it, but I do not feel like it completely compares one-to-one to Go. What I'm going to do with Kingdom Builder is it doesn't. The only issue it really has is it can get complicated over time. I'm going to recommend this at a 7. I think that it does deserve to be recommended. I think it is a good game, but I don't think you need more than 1 or 2 expansions for good replayability. Yeah. Okay, Koi. Koi is a interesting game. I have not played it as much as I'd like because I had someone to teach me the rules, and I haven't really played it with many people since then. But what you're going to be doing is, you have all these pieces. There's dragonflies that you want to eat, and you are frogs hopping around and getting stuff. Every time that, there's weather effects and things that can affect, like, the way that things move in the water. Petals can fall down and all this kind of stuff. It's a really gorgeous looking game in terms of the card art. I think the board isn't like the outside of the board is beautiful. The inside is just hexes, but that's for playability's sake. It's a really nice game. It kind of gives me actually the vibe of Duck Duck Go a little with the movement. Oh, you're not frogs, Greg. Duh, you're koi. What am I thinking? Because it's koi. Sorry, it's been a long time since I played this. So yeah, you're swimming and moving around and doing stuff. But yeah, it's a pretty enjoyable game. It's one that, like I said, I haven't played in a long time, so my rating for it is probably not the best. I'm gonna give it a 6. I really need to play that again soon. Today's been my list of I should play this again. So I'm gonna basically have to come up with a list of stuff that I want to play. Lagoon is next. Lagoon is a hex tile laying game. On your turn, you're going to basically pull a tile. You can flip it on one side or the other because the tiles are double-sided, and you place it onto the board. Every turn, you're going to be placing a tile, and then you're going to be moving and placing out these tokens. There's 2 types of tokens. You have an elder. You have an elder and another type of token. I forget what it's called. Do they have a picture of it? It doesn't look like it. Maybe they do right here. Oh wow, that's a prototype. Yeah, you have 3 different resources. These are all the different tokens that they have in their base game. But basically, there's like the Elder token and then your other ones. The thing that I like about this game, and I think it's the thing that confuses everyone, is you have this huge map with a bunch of hexes, and you have your tokens spread throughout. Is any location that you have a token, every power on that tile can trigger another tile, but you can only trigger the power of a tile by one of your people once. So you have to be particular about like, well, I'm going to use this guy to trigger this action, so then I flip this over. And so you have to plan accordingly to do that, and I think that really confuses people. But I like this game. I think it's great, and the whole goal of the game is you're collecting certain types of colors. So there's the red, the yellow, and the blue as resources, and those match tiles. The goal is to have the most of the color that you have. You want that tile to be the dominant tile type. So if you're going for red, you want red tokens, red tiles, so that you can get the most victory from everything. Let's see. Lagoon will get... I'm going to give it a 6. I think that game will be better at a higher player count. And yeah, so I would probably, if you're playing with 2 players, I'd probably rate it a 5. If you're playing it like 4 people, I'd probably put it up at a 7. Like, I think it works better with more people. Okay, Lawyer Up. Lawyer Up is a game that I have that's new that I need to dive into. I've only played it once. And basically, you're the defendants and the prosecution on the opposite side of the table, and you're trying to sway all the people in the jury by gaining points in arguments. So you go back and forth playing cards in your argument, and then you come out with so many points with that, and then you get to sway these jurors on the side a direction, and then once you get them all the way to the end and like lock them, they're locked in place. And so you're basically keep pulling people out, asking the questions until you can get enough people locked in that you win. I have a couple of the expansions for this. The game seems super fun. I really like it so far from the one time that I've played it. Right now, I will put this at a 6 just because I have not played it enough to really give it a better ranking. Legacy, Forbidden Machines. This is the only time travel game that I know of that's actually good. Oh, this is for the expansion. Get out of Gears. Oh, no, this isn't. This is just showing the image for Gears of Time. Okay, let's find a picture that shows the board. Here we go. Okay, so what's going to be happening is you are on this timeline board, and you can move back and travel back in time and create inventions. So let's say, I go back and I make the automobile. Well, to make the automobile, that card has requirements. I need things like an engine, and I need like wheels and all this kind of stuff. And so you have to go back in time and make all these things in previous times for them to exist for your later card to get you points. And you can set stuff up. In the beginning, you can go back and you can make a bunch of stuff and influence it so that you get points for it. And then when you get after each round, you get pulled and whiplashed back to the future. And you have to go back in time 4 times making stuff. It's a really good game. I think it's really fun. You're spending a lot of time like making new technologies and influencing them. Oh yeah, and every time that you get pulled back to the future, the next round, another technology can be built in the past timeline. And so even though it was full, let's say on round one of the times, when you go back that next round, you could place a new technology there that existed in the future and basically wipe it clean. So like yours is the one that matters. Like if someone created the wheel in time period 5 and you're going back to time period 6, in the past, you could invent the wheel then and their wheel isn't worth anything. it's a really interesting game. It plays very weird and unusual, and it has a lot of like cool technology and stuff. And there's a big expansion, and everything for it. I think Legacy Gears of Time and Legacy Forbidden Machines, because that's the expansion, they're great. Like I think it's a really good game. I always am willing to play this. I will give it an 8. Yeah, it's just fun. Legend of Korra Pro Bending Arena. If you're a fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender or Korra, Legend of Korra, this is a fantastic game. It is basically pro bending. You, instead of having it as like a sport to watch, you're playing it. I've played video games of this, and it still doesn't do this version of the game justice. You have a team like the Fire Ferrets or the Rabaroos or whatever, and you'll have these wonderful 3D models that were printed out. And I haven't painted mine. I'd like to paint mine. And what you're going to be doing is playing. Where are the cards? Show me the cards. Do they not have the cards listed? Wow. Well, there's a bunch of people painting their stuff. Yeah, okay, here's more miniatures. Here's all the miniatures that are in the game. If you buy the deluxe edition. If you buy the base edition, you only get 7 people, or 6 people. You get the Fire Ferrets and the Wolf Bats. But they're basically how the game works is... Oh, there's one right there. Okay. So as you can see right here, there's a card. This card shows that the fire person is going to attack for 3. Attack for 3 at so much of a distance away. I can't read it. Attack for 2 at so much a distance away. Attack for 1 at so much distance. 1 at so much distance. And then this bottom one is... I can't read what that attack is. It might be a movement or a special ability or something. But basically, every turn you're going to lay down the cards from your hand, which allow you to move, one of your 3 or all 3 of your people, tossing out different elements depending on who they are, and the other team has to defend them, block them, do whatever, and it works just like pro bending in the Avatar universe. Natalie said, oh, I'll get to that in a second. Yeah, so with Avatar Pro Bending Arena, I love this game. I think it's great. I think more people need to play it. I will say the base game, non-deluxe edition, I would give a 7. The deluxe edition, I'm giving an 8 because of, the deluxe edition is like twice the price, but you're getting 4 times the content. So if you're going to buy the game, find the deluxe edition. I know it's going to be hard to find, and it's expensive, but it's way better. Before I go on, Natalie says she concurs in my rating with Gears of Time. Super fun and engaging. Yeah, I'm glad you like it as well. That is a great game, and I loved that company for it. Which, oh my God, why can't I remember that company's name? Floodgate Games. Yeah, Floodgate has made a bunch of different really good games. They have Sagrada. They have Decorum, a bunch of different games that they've made, and the Epic Vacation, or Epic, the one I rated it earlier, the one where they're on, the D&D people are on vacation, and that one's really good too. So the Floodgate does some really good games. Lemonade Stand has a mechanic that I have not seen in any other games, and actually I'm working on a game that uses a similar mechanic specifically because of Lemonade Stand. So Lemonade Stand's all about trying to sell lemonade at your stand, and you're charging so much for it, and depending on what you do, every turn the weather comes out, and the one card of the weather points to the next card. So like if they come out like this, like here, these top 2, this is how it comes out this turn. And so it's, let's say it was going here, it was sunny, so I'm getting 15 cents per lemonade that I sold this time. And then the next card I flip, it's this one or whatever, and it goes, and it's 10 cents and it's sunny. So like it's interesting because every single round, due to the order of these cards, you'll earn a certain amount or not at all per your per how the cards slip out, which I think it's great. It's an ingenious idea, and you're picking on how much you're selling it for, and your lemonade stand will grow and get better, and it's super great, and you're getting so much per your card that you get for all that. I think it's a cute game. It's a great game for kids. They can learn with math and all that kind of stuff. And it's really cute and has an interesting mechanic I've never seen before. I'm gonna give this one a 5. I think it's right. It's right in that perfect spot where it's a really just interesting game. Natalie said that the company was super nice to visit with at Gen Con. Yes, they were, or to chat with. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Floodgate was very nice to chat with because they're very fun people. Likewise is a simple social party game. I played this with my parents. It's very simple, very clean. Basically, you have 2 decks, and one deck is a descriptor, the other deck is a thing. So in the example that they have on here, it says intriguing movie. So intriguing is the one card, movie is the other, and then you're all trying to write down, and you want to get the same answer as everyone else, or as another person. Because if you have the same answer, you go likewise when they say their name, and when they say the same thing that's on your board, and then you both get marked a check. After you get so many likewise over the course of a round, that the person with the most wins. Simple, good, effective game. I would probably put this as a 6 because sometimes those categories do not mesh well, and I think there needs to be more. There wasn't enough variety in there, I think. Loaded Questions adult version. This is one of Natalie's games that she had when we first got together. We played this actually in one of our early game nights. I don't really care for this game that much. It's okay. I think it's not a bad game by any means. I just feel that there isn't any reason to replay it that much once you've played it a couple times. I will put it under. Yeah, I'll put it under 4. I rarely will want to play this. It's something that'll come out every once in a while for fun. Lords of Waterdeep. Lords of Waterdeep is a amazing worker placement game. On your turn, you essentially take one of your workers that you have and place it on a spot on the board and gain the resources in which that spot delegates. So whether that's, I'm going to place it here and get 2 black cubes. I'm going to place it here and get some money. I'm going to place it here, draw cards. I just played this 2 weeks ago or whatever, and it's still a great game. Still holds up. I love this game. I don't know. There's not much to say about it because it's just so good. I'm going to give this one a 9. To me, it's so close to perfect. There's just a few things that could be changed slightly with the game to make it better, but it's pretty close to perfect for me. That's a really good game. Lunar Base. Lunar Base is a really tiny game, can be played in 15 minutes. What you're doing is you're building I guess you could say an international type space station. You're building a space station, or a module or whatever, on another planet. And so what you're doing, it's a lunar base. So around a base on the planet or up in air or whatever. And what you're doing is you're connecting these half circles together to get resources. So when you connect a yellow to another yellow, you'll gain the full yellow resource at the beginning of a round, or a red to red or a blue to blue. There's also colorless, so if you put it to that, it definitely gets you those things. So the more you connect, the easier it is to play cards. The easier it is to play cards, the more cards you can play. There's a bunch of ways to win, which I really like about this game. You can get 10 people symbols on all your cards to win. You can get the 7 different, I think it's 7, it might be 9, 7 or 9 scientific things, which are the red symbols on everything. And then you could also get so much credit, so much money to win. And then there's another card type that you can collect to win as well if you think you get 4 of those or whatever before anyone else wins. It's a cute game. It's really fun. I will probably put this at an 8 because it just plays so quick and so easy. I think it's one that you can just bust out whenever you want to play. Natalie said Lords is easily a 9 or 10 for her. Yeah, same here. Wholeheartedly agree. Lunch Money. Lunch Money is a very weird game. It definitely like gives that 90s aesthetic with its cards. Like it definitely gives that kind of grungy, kind of mystery type thing. It's a very simple game. You put some money in front of you, and you're basically playing, for money, and it's people's lunch money. And I think that's what it did. Is people put their lunch money on the table, and they play this to get more or less from the people around them. It's all about stealing money from other people, grabbing, hiding, kicking, and all this kind of stuff. It's a simplistic game. I don't have this game anymore. I actually got rid of it, and that's because I really avoid playing it at this point. It was not very fun. It was fun maybe the first couple times I played, and then it dived off real quick. Mage Wars Academy. So I'm going to skip over Mage Wars Academy and cover Mage Wars Arena first. So Mage Wars Arena is a arena-based combat game where there's a grid of 4x3, so 12 squares that you can be in, and you are placing out your cards into the field and moving them around and trying to attack other people in this giant arena combat. It's an interesting game. I think all of the cards are super well done with art. I think a lot of the mechanics of the games are good. There's a few things that I will just never understand why they set it up this way for this game, because like some of your cards do full turns and other ones do like half turns, but they're not half turns. They're worth like 4/10 of a turn. And it doesn't make sense because if you do 2 half turns, you still have 2 points out of the 10 for your turn. And so like you're like, well, what do I do with that? And you can't do anything. It like why they did that made no sense to me. So fixing this, they made Mage Wars Academy where they got rid of all the movement, and it plays more like Magic or something like that, where basically all your cards get laid out in front of you, anyone can attack anyone, and you just play back and forth. It makes the game streamlined, it makes it easier to play, and they added new people that can be used for both, and all your cards for Mage Wars Arena can be used in Academy, but not all of Academy's cards can be used in Arena. So you just ignore the movement options on the card when playing for Academy. So, saying that and going over everything, Mage Wars Arena, I'm going to probably give a 6. I think it's a pretty good game. I haven't played it as much as I should have to basically give it a better rank. But it has some issues that I don't care for. And then 3 years later, they came out with Mage Wars Academy, which I think bumps it up to a 7. If you like Mage battle systems, this was a really cool one. There's been a lot more that's come out since this game's release. So I feel like there's probably a couple better options at this point. But I have everything for these games. As you can see, all the expansions for it. I think it's a really fun game, and it's enjoyable if you can sit down and make your own decks and have fun with it. Okay, Magic Maze. Magic Maze is a really fun game if you're playing with the right people. You cannot speak, and you're only moving. So there's 4 characters. Here, let me show you the board. There's 4 characters, and the boards look like this, and they're set up and generated by you flipping cards at random and placing them down a specific way. If you see there's 4 pawns, and you think that, oh, you're a character and you move that pawn, wrong. You move a direction. So that's what the blue ones are. So this looks like it's a 3-player game, and the other card is over here. This player can only move up and to the right, or north and east. This player can only move south, sorry, can move at the looking glass icons and move up escalators. And then there's probably another one that can only go on time spaces, and then can only move west. And so, like, you're only getting to do one or two types of actions. And so you have to watch the board and look at everyone and go, okay, intuitively, how do they want these people to be moved? And that's the big issue, is that you're having a hard time like letting people know how they should move, because if someone does not like know, or they don't see someone that's supposed to be moved a certain way, they'll completely overlook it and it'll screw up the entire game, especially since this game is timed. It's a real-time movement, and that red slammer in the middle is there to like slam on the table to get certain people's attention to do something. But you can sit there and slam and they have no idea what you're talking about, because you may be overlooking something that they see that you should be doing. And so this game is a fun game depending on who you play it with. I feel that I would not recommend buying this to most people. I would put it as rarely want to play for me because of the experience I had. I think most people would probably put it up at a 6 because I feel like most people like it better than what I have done. Welcome back, Ikari. Glad to see you coming back. Hope your meeting went well. Next, Magic the Gathering. Magic the Gathering is a classic game. Almost everybody knows Magic the Gathering at this point. I wouldn't recommend playing it personally. I think that there's so much history in the game as you trying to get in and learn it. I think the only way to play Magic is with one of those boxes that have limited cards in, and everybody drafts from that box. I forget what that mechanic is called. It's the only way I recommend playing Magic. I think there's so many other games that do what Magic does at this point, but better. So I will give Magic the Gathering a 7 because I do recommend it for some people. Oh, sorry, not get 6. I'd recommend it for some people, but most people I do not recommend Magic. There are other games that basically play better. Mahayota. Mahayota is a game about gods and lore from India, and the card art is gorgeous and it looks super clean. Let me find where's the does this one have any characters? Yeah, this one's got some. So like the characters are up here, locations are here. You got some armor and weapons and stuff, and some action cards. This game, I think, is really cool. It has a really unique art style to it. And it actually, like, this one kind of plays similar to Magic, except for, like, once the battle commences, all of your stuff kind of comes back to you instead of, like, being discarded when you use them. And so you have to continuously put new stuff out to try to create a better strategy than someone on that turn. Yeah, I like that game a lot. I still have it in my collection. I'm going to give it a 7. I would recommend it for some people who are looking for just a 2-player kind of Magic-like experience without having to learn like a bazillion cards. And the two people are fairly even, but their cards that are unique to them come up, which is interesting. Martian Dice. So I have 2 games that are just like this. I have Martian Dice and Zombie Dice. Zombie Dice I won't get till I get to the end of my list, which will probably not happen today. But I like Martian Dice a lot. You have a plethora of dice. You're going to roll them. You have aliens that count as defense against the tanks. You want to get... you need... all the tanks get pulled out instantly when they're rolled. You can choose to either pull out alien ships, humans, cows, or chickens. Your goal is you want as many humans, as many cows, and as many chickens as possible. And so you have to plan on defending as many shots, but getting as much resources as possible. Your goal is to get to 25. The best way to go is you're trying to get like one thing, as many as that as you can, to score the most points. Yeah, tanks, death rays, humans, cows, and chickens. So yeah, it's a really fun game. You're trying to get to like 25 points. I really like Martian Dice. I like it slightly better than Zombie Dice. I'm going to put that as we'll recommend. The game takes about like 5 minutes to play. It's so quick. It's so fast. Okay, we ranked Dice Thrones, so I don't think there's a reason for me to rank Marvel Dice Thrones. I don't even remember what I put. Did I put it at like an 8? I think I put it in 8. What are the Dice Thrones? I put Dice Thrones at a 9, Dice Thrones Adventures at an 8. Marvel Dice Thrones will be the same for me. So we'll just make that. Oh, I don't know why I went into it. I can just do it right here. I will make that a 9. I think it's great. Menace Among Us. So I gotta rant about this for a second. Menace Among Us came out in 2019. It existed. I was playing it in 2017 during its prototyping. I really like this game. I think it's a great hidden trader game. It's one of the few that doesn't rely on people just lying to each other completely. You have characters. Those characters have actions. Let me pull that up. Your characters have above deck actions, which are shown on their character card. And then they have the below deck actions, in which are the cards that they can play. Your character role, like this character has cards. And then your role as like captain, crew member, menace or whatever, you all have cards that add to your deck, and all those get shuffled together, and that's the deck that you play with. And you have 3 in your hand, and every turn you either do an above deck action or you play a card, which is your below deck action. All cards are played to the center, mixed together, and then basically shown. And all the good and bad things happen on the board, whether it's lowering the oxygen, raising the oxygen, raising or lowering the energy, or people getting hurt. It is, and these are what the cards look like. They raise oxygen, or because fixing the engine will lower the oxygen, so you have to keep trying to raise the oxygen as you're trying to repair the engine. Love the picture of Kurt here with Menace. But there's like a lot of negative things in there, like people backstabbing, reactor leaks, explosions, all these things. But the thing is good characters can have bad cards that they don't want to play, but they have to. And that's what makes this game interesting, because you could think that someone is the menace and trying to cause problems when that's the only option that they have. That was the best card that they could play in that situation. I love this game. I think it's fantastic, and I'm going to state again, and why I'm ranting is that this came out before Among Us. And Among Us, I think, helped with its sales, but it hurts people from wanting to buy it because they just think it's Among Us. If you're looking for a good hidden trader game, something like the Battlestar Galactica board game or something like that, but you want a reduced time, because the game can be played in like half an hour, maybe 40 minutes at most. It's great. I really like this game. I'm putting it at a 9. Yeah, it's great. Okay, next up, Mobile Frame Zero Rapid Attack. So Mobile Frame Zero is just a framework of a game. You can play with anything. You could play with a block of wood, and it would be fine. You just have to keep track of what dice you're doing and what's going on. Most people, though, will build little mechs out of Lego pieces. And it's even recommended in the rule book to do this. They're like, hey, if you want to, buy some Legos. Your minifigs should only be this tall. I went and bought a bunch of packs of Legos and built a bunch of my own mechs. I like this because you can easily show how, your mech lost its weapon. You could take it off the piece because it's just Legos. It pieces together. And the scale is like, this big. It's only, it's pretty small. But it's super cool because you can do some really, really neat stuff with this game. And the Rapid Attack has a bunch of different stuff. But you can play like a Capture the Flag mode. You can play like Eliminated, like Last Man Standing and stuff like that. And it's a really fun game. I'm going to give this one an 8. I really like it. I even specifically bought Terrain just to use it in this game. Um, oh, you think some of these games are impossible to find? Yeah, they might be. If there's specific games that you're looking at that you think are interesting, I might be able to give you a hookup depending on what game they are, because I know some people either in the industry or I know like places where you can order them or get them from. Just let me know what you're looking at, Angela, and I can kind of help you out. So Monopoly Deal is a basic game that it's like Monopoly, but it's played all with cards, and even your money is cards. This is $3 million. It's all in millions, of course, because it's Monopoly. But yeah, all your different things are Monopoly, like on cards, and they're all everything's simplified with it, and it really works good actually, because you're playing and you can rotate and flip and change cards and do different things, and you can put like houses on things and everything. It works really good because you're just like playing back and forth and trying to collect as much as possible, and it's a super easy version of Monopoly. It's not a 4 hour game. You sit down and it's like 45 minutes, and there's no board to move around on. It's just card play, and I think that's how you gain money every turn, is having these properties, because they just give you money, and you're trying to do what you can to get more victory and more money than any of the other players. And so you can see it looks just like Monopoly, except for there's no board. And so it plays pretty good. I'm actually surprised how well that game works. I'm going to put it as 5 because I like it, but it's not anything like too crazy special. Okay, the only Monopoly, the regular Monopoly that I will keep on my list is, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, so I have Klingon Monopoly. And I love this because I don't ever really play it. I bought it as a collector's piece. It's got the Klingon theme. It comes with cool, pugil pieces. It has paper money and everything like that. It has cards and stuff like normal Monopoly does. The only big benefit is all the cards have both English and Klingon text on it. I think that's freaking cool. It's still Monopoly, so I'm still going to rate it as a rarely want to play. If it was normal Monopoly, it would be down at a 2 or a 1. But it's Klingon edition, so I'm giving it a leg up, so it's got a 4. Monumental. I have the game. I have not played it. This is going to be a long task to play this game because the setup is brutally difficult, because of just how extensive this game is. I mean, this is what the box looks like. It's got a bunch of miniatures, bunch of cards, bunch of things. I know how to play to an extent. It's going to basically be like a 4-hour first play, if not 5. So I know it's going to take a long time. So I'm just like, I have not played yet. So that's a future for me. Mr. Jack Pocket. Mr. Jack Pocket is a really short, tiny game where there's a grid setup of cards like this. You have the police officer, and I forget who this is on the one, or the constable and everything. And Sherlock, Watson, and Toby are floating around the outside, and one person is controlling them. And what you're both trying to do is you're trying to rotate streets to affect who can see who and when, because one person's trying to figure out who the murderer is. The other person is the murderer who's trying to get away and make sure that they don't see them, and they're all trapped in the same streets. So it's a super, super interesting, super fun game. I have to play this again because it's been a while. I'm going to give Mr. Jack Pocket, I'm going to give it a 7. I think it's a good game, and I think people should play it, definitely. Especially, this is a great couples game because it's 2 players. Natalie said the minis for this game is stunning. I agree that the minis for Monumental are fantastic. They're some of the best minis I've ever seen, and they're going to be a joy to paint when I get to it. I'm really excited for it. Munchkin. Munchkin is a staple of the tabletop Industry games. It's one of the earlier ones back in the day, and yeah, it came out in 2001. If that tells you anything. To kind of explain this game, you have a character, and that's not a really good image. Let me find a better image. Does this one work? You have a character, and you'll be putting like weapons, helmet, boots, all this like equipment on to help you get stronger, because every turn you just flip over a card, try to fight monster. If you beat the monster, you get a treasure. If you don't, you escape, or you die and you lose some stuff or whatever. This is a very simple game. It has a lot of problems with its game mechanisms. It's more of a game you want to play for a light-hearted kind of fun experience. If you take games seriously, it's not the game for you. I'm going to give this a 3 because I got rid of my copy of Munchkin because I did not, as I started to get more serious about my board gaming, I started to really dislike this game. If you're one who likes comedy in all your board games, this might be higher for you. This could probably be like a 6 or a 7. But for me, it's a 3. Mystery of the Temples. This game caught my attention. This was one of the early Kickstarters that I backed. You're going to be moving around this ring in the center, trying to trigger different things to get resources, and you're going to use those resources to pay for these cards to get points and to collect different gems to fill out your nodes over here. It's a cute, simple game. It's really small, plays pretty quick. It's not as deep as I thought it would be when I first got it. It has some stunning pieces in the game. The art looks good. I'm going to probably give this a 5. I think it's fine as a game. It's just something that doesn't come out very often. Oh my god, I keep trying to drink my soda backwards with the tab down. Okay, next up, Mystic Vale. Mystic Vale is the first game that came out that used the card crafting system. So what I mean by that is cards will be put in a sleeve, and there's a top, a middle, and a bottom. And all of these pieces you buy separately because they're like this, and you slide them in front and behind the other cards. And so over the course of the game, you're building these cards to be this epic, because like every time you play this card, right, this growth minuses out this decay, so this tree and this, zoom in here. So this tree and this tree negate each other. You're going to get 8 victory, 1 decay. On your turn, 3 decay basically ends your turn. And then you get a paw, a sun, and a leaf, and those help you buy these other cards. But you're getting 8 victory every time, and then when played, look at your next deck card, and you may discard it, so you can get rid of bad cards. This one, you get 4 buying power with these gems. You get 3 victory, 1 decay, and then a sun. Like, these are crazy good card combinations. Like, this is really good stuff. And these helmets do different things, too, on the cards. And they give you victory at the end of the game as well. Like, this is... You build up your 20-card deck with all these custom cards. And they allow you to buy more stuff and get more victory. And when the victory pool runs out, the game's over. Mystic Vale is an incredible game. I think it's wonderful. I think it deserves to get an 8. Yeah, it's fantastic, and I have so many different expansions for it at this point because of how good it is. Netatonka. Netatonka is Native American theme in terms of like your tribes. You're trying to see who gets to be the next Netatonka, which is I don't know what language that is, but it's one of the Native American tribes' language for like the king or the ruler of tribes. And the thing that makes this game unique, it's a worker placement game. You take the turn, put out a worker in a spot, and you all put out your workers, and then on your turn you pull back all of yours at once and gather all those resources. The thing I like about this game, because you're gaining things in the order that you want, because when you pull them from the board, that's when you're getting it. So you can trigger stuff in a particular order. Number 2 is that if you have 2 meeples next to each other on the board to where there's a connection line between them. On that connection line, there is a symbol. You also get that as well. So if you work in actions that are similar or near each other, you'll get a third thing for free. And if you do multiple of those, you'll get multiple free things on your turn, which will make your game so much more powerful. If you didn't trigger any of those, you would lose out on so many actions through the course of the game. Those two things, I think, are what make this game great. That's what makes it stand out to other games. Because, like, I would say it's similar to Lords of Waterdeep, but it's not. It's connections make it better, but I don't think it has as smooth of gameplay. So for me, I think I'm going to have to put this at an 8. I was debating between a 7 and 8. I would give it a 7.5, but I'm not doing 0.5, so it's getting an 8. Nevermore. Nevermore is a fast-paced card drafting game where, let me pull out the board here. So you're going to go through each of these things. You're checking to see if anyone has a conspiracy, which is 5 ravens in their hand. Very unlikely, kind of like shooting the moon in hearts. Then you're checking on how many swords everyone has, how many hearts, how many radiance, and how many victory chalices. And then you're checking for any ravens they have left in their hand. And each of those trigger in this way. If I have 3 swords, player 2 over there has 1 sword, and player 3 has 0, it's the highest number, which is mine of 3, minus the second highest, which is 1 in this case. So I would get to attack someone for 2. And that works the same way for all the other suits. And so what you're doing is you're trying to, as a human, you're attacking and killing the other players. And by killing, if they lose all their health, they become a raven and they attack and do things differently. And you're trying to get 5 victory. You get victory for taking out players, you get victory from the victory chalice, and then you can get victory for a few other weird ways. But basically the goal is to get 5 victory or to be a human amongst all raven players. I think it's fun. It's a really enjoyable game. I'm going to probably give this a 7. I recommend it. I think it's a fun game to play. Yeah. Night Cage. I have not played too much Night Cage. I've demoed it. I've played it a bunch at convention. I've only played my copy a couple times, actually, because it's a good game. It's just, I think I need to be in the right mood to play the game. It's got this really dark aesthetic. It feels great playing by like candlelight and everything. I want to play this game with 4 people. I don't like playing it by like one solo or 2 players or whatever. I want to play this with 4 people. It's been really hard to get 4 people together to play games, especially a game that's like this where it's dark and menacing and you have like a cooperative objective. And so I like this game quite a bit, but I don't get to play it. I'm going to put this at a 7 because I think it deserves it. I just need to play it more. Luna Nova. Luna Nova is an interesting game because it uses 2 mechanics that I think are both really good in their own way. One, the center of the table has this rondelle. And what it is you get a choice of the next 3 tiles in front of you. When you take a tile, you move this moon to that spot, and the next player gets the choice of 3 tiles after that moon again. And you keep going until the center only has 2 choices or is empty, depending on how the players choose. And then it'll get refilled. That is a fun aspect in itself, as well as in the center of it. The player, each of these cards have a value, like 4, 6, 3. That's how much your token moves up. If your token is in the last place in that circle, you get to do it again. And so turn order changes all the time. So if you take really big cards, that means they're easy to combo with or easy to trigger. So that means that you'll get less turns to play because you chose an easier card. The other thing that I like is you are trying to combo off of these cards by hooking them up to other cards that deal with its color. So this teal card here wants 2 yellows and a blue. Right now it only has 1 yellow on it. You would need to add another yellow, either connected to this yellow, and then a blue connected somewhere around here. So you can run a trail. So if like I had a card that was out here that said 3, like this yellow one here that says 2 teal, I could put that next to this one, get at least the yellow completion on this one, start to work towards it, but then I'd instantly complete it on this. So it's really fun to like match stuff together that instantly complete each other because they work really well. And by the end of the game, like if you can trigger like 2 or 3 of those every round, it works really well. I like Luna Nova. I think that it deserves an 8 because of how simple it is. It plays so well. Numbers League. This was a game that I thought worked very different than it did. I thought it looked really cool where basically you had a top, middle, and bottom, and you'd have different characters and you'd switch them around and they do stuff. I thought what you were trying to do in this was like an enemy's out on the field and you needed to bring in someone who could specifically attack that value only to win. And so you're basically building the characters out of the cards you have to bring them in to see if that you have a better setup than someone else to take out that character. No, it's just a math game. So I was really disappointed. And I thought it would be like a really fun game to play with like kids or something like that. It did not work for me. I didn't like it. So I did get rid of it. And I'm going to put it down for 1 to get rid of it. I think the art's fine. It looks fine. The concept seemed interesting. But how the game was explained to me versus how it actually works, 2 completely different things. Okay. Not So Fast. Not So Fast is a fast-paced kind of action like Spoons, if you've ever played that. People are going to be flipping over cards like this, where it shows a different amount of different symbol nuts on it. If there is 7 of a particular nut, is it 7? 7? Maybe 7's only almond. Man, I am losing it today. Yeah, basically, I think it's if there's exactly 4 or 7 of particular numbers, you reach in and you grab for the nut tokens, which look like this. And so if there's like 4 peanuts, you need to reach in for that, or walnuts, or whatever. And you only play with as many as these guys and these as there are one less than the number of players. And then the other ones only have 1. And so what you're trying to do is every time you get it, you don't have to take the cards. All the cards that player has put in front of them gets put below their deck. And those all count as negative victory for them at the end of the game. So whoever has the least amount of damage is the winner. It's fast-paced. It's fun. I would say be careful. Don't play with people with nails. Been there, done that. Hurts like hell. I'm going to give this a 6 just because I don't tend to like this as much of other players, but I see why it's appealing. I'm just not one for that fast reaction versus other players. Nyctophobia. Nyctophobia is a game that I'm debating about getting rid of because you need to play it in the dark and one person needs to be able to see. So, you can have people wear the glasses that come in there to blind themselves as you play, but the room needs to be somewhat dark so that they don't get light shining through the backs. And then people have to feel where they're at on the board. Let me pull up a picture of the board so you can see it. They need to feel where they're at on the board. The one player helps them and they have to figure out where they're going. And so their goal is to get to the car or escape. And they have to try to, in their mind, figure out where they're going and what's going on. I feel like there's a better way to handle this mechanic. I think that you could have, a board around the whole thing, and then they feel and they move, and then they need to draw up their map, because I think that would be more fun. and the killer is basically going after them, but it's like so much slower, or and trying to stop them, or like get them to turn around and go a different direction. It's fun, it's enjoyable, but like every time we've played, something has gotten screwed up almost each time. So it's a very gimmicky game. I think the gimmick is pretty good. I'm gonna give this a 6 because I feel like it should be better. Like, people should be able to play this just fine. It's just not one that I enjoy that much. Once Upon a Time. Once Upon a Time is a storytelling game. I have not played this in years. I do have it in my collection, but it just never comes out. You're basically going to be telling a story with cards, doing different actions, and what you're trying to do is interrupt people's story and continue the story with your cards. And as soon as somebody uses a word that you have as a card, you can throw it down and continue their story. And what this allows you to do is you're trying to tell the story to the end, a cohesive story till the end, utilizing the elements in your hand. It can get pretty cheesy really quick, especially with people who do not tell stories well. And to me, this game, I will probably almost never play this anymore, just because I have Before There Were Stars, which definitely replaced my storytelling game in that regard. I'm just going to give this a 5. I'll play it sometimes, but it has its issues. It's not something I want to do too much of. Okay. One Deck Dungeon. One Deck Dungeon is not a bad game. There's a digital version of it on Steam or GOG or other stuff. I think the digital version actually works a little bit better. You have 5 characters. You're going through the dungeon, and let me pull up a closer card. Yeah, and then you're fighting these people. This is how the cards look. It's a fine game. It works out just fine. I feel like it's a little fiddly sometimes when I've played. I don't like it as much as I would think, because usually I'm like, digital versions aren't very good of a lot of board games. I feel like the digital version did a better job than this, and I think because they had more time to like work on it and resolve it, because there's actually 2 versions of One Deck Dungeon that are out with different characters and different abilities and monsters and stuff, but it's the same game. It's just different features. The characters are different and all that. It's a fine game. It's not bad, but I don't think it's anything like, oh man, this is super special. The one main thing I will mention is it is all the characters in there are girls, which I really like, because this is like, dungeon crawlers tend to be mainly like guys. They were just like, oh, it's buff warrior and this wizard. This game did a good job, and they made all female characters. So I say good on them. That's something that I would love to see more of. I think the game itself, though, is just average. It's in the middle. It's a 5. Pandemic. Pandemic is a staple game of tabletop gaming. But if you know tabletop gaming, you've probably played or know people who have played Pandemic. It's great. This is the version that I have, the older version. The newer one looks a little bit prettier, but I like the older one. I think it looks really nice. I have that in the first 2 expansions, I think it is, for mine. I don't have the last expansion. I love Pandemic. It's a great game. It's one I don't play that much anymore, just because there's a lot of other cooperative games. There's a lot of stuff, and really, with COVID and everything, it's kind of like, yeah, Pandemic is a little too close to home. So I will put it at a 7. It's something I would recommend. I think it's a good game for people, but it's not something I'll play all the time. Now, Pandemic Legacy, I have Pandemic Legacy. It is Pandemic. It's the exact same game, so I have this with this modern look. I have not seen those pieces in it yet, but I have not finished Legacy. I'm about halfway through Pandemic Legacy, so I haven't seen it all. The people that we were playing with when COVID happened, we just kind of stopped playing because we stopped getting together. So I think that I would put Pandemic Legacy at an 8 so far, because you can play normal Pandemic on the Pandemic Legacy board, or you can play the Legacy version. So I think that that's just fine. Okay, Pandemic Contagion. I should really just call it Contagion. Contagion is like a short version of Pandemic. It changes the game from being this world scope to where you're basically almost like focusing on a particular part of the world or specific cities, and what you're doing is you're each one of the viruses, and you're growing it and working on that section. I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I've played, but like you're trying to build up and win in certain areas. So it's almost like reverse Pandemic, where you're focusing on an area and trying to get the most of it in that, and then you'll get more cards because of it, and you'll be able to do different stuff, and you'll get victory. So it's a pretty fun game. I actually like Contagion. I'm gonna probably put it at 6. I don't think it's one that I would recommend to a lot of people, but it's actually not a bad like little starter game for dealing with some of that stuff. Okay, Paperback. Paperback is a game I suck at. It is a word making game where you have letters out in the center, and you have some basic letters, and you're drafting and trying to, or buying letters, and you're trying to make words to get points. I suck at this game. I suck at Scrabble. I'm just not good with word games because spelling is horrible for me. So I think this is a good game. I think it's kind of fun and interesting. I'm going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 5. Sorry. I'm going to put it right in the middle because for me, it just does not work. I think for most people it'd be a little bit higher, but just for me, it just doesn't hit. Okay. So Pantone the game. For anyone who is in paints, graphic design, anything like that, you deal with Pantone colors all the time. This is a cute social game where let's get to the... So this is what the inside of the box looks like. It's just a Pantone swatch booklet, essentially. And the cards over here on the side are these. They tell you, like this one example is Abraham Lincoln. And what you have to do is you use... there's 3 times that you try to give a clue to who this person is in terms of... you have 3 different characters that you're doing, essentially, and then each oh my god, I can't think. Each person you're representing the first time, you can use as many colors and as many swatches as you want. The second one, you can use as many as you want, but only one of each color. And I think the third one, you only get 3 Pantones to try to make them. So you want your third thing to be the easiest. So it's a really interesting game, and I think it's very fun if you're playing with creative thinking people. I'm probably going to put this at a 6. I think it's good, but I don't really recommend it for most people. Oh, a paperback. Did I not? Oh, whoops. I gave Pandemic on the Brink a rating. I want to get rid of said rating. Okay. Ikari said, does it also include a monthly subscription fee now? What are you talking about with the monthly subscription fee? I do not know what you're mentioning. Sorry. I will move on until you answer that question. Paramedics Clear. Paramedics Clear is another one of those real-time games. So in this one, you are getting carts of people in that have injuries, and you are basically in a certain allotted time. I think you have like 45 seconds on your turn, and then on round 2 you have only 30 seconds, and on round 3 you only have 15, and you are spitting out as much as you can to try to help these people, and you're trying to save as many people as possible. Now, someone who was EMT said this game was not stressful at all. everyone who's not an EMT has said this game is super stressful. Natalie and I really like it. I met the designer Gary. He's a really nice guy. He worked really hard on the game, and I really enjoyed it. I think it's super fun. Oh, yeah. Okay, so that's what you were talking about, Ikari. Pantone recently removed their color swatches from Adobe Creative Cloud and started charging monthly subscription for them. Yeah. They charged $15. They're charging $15 a month for the Pantone colors, which I think is ridiculous. The good thing is I do use Creative Cloud at work, but I'm still using Pantone in there, so I don't know if. Yeah, I don't know, but I also have like documents that have the Pantones built into it that I can just pull from as well, and it doesn't affect me here at home because I still have CS6, so I haven't jumped to Creative Cloud. But yeah, Paramedics Clear is a super fun game. I like it. I'm gonna put it at a 7. I think it's good if you want that heart pumping stress action. Patronize. Patronize is a game that I haven't got to play very much. I have it. It's been sitting in my pile, but you have to play with 4 players. It seriously says only a 4-player game because of how the game works. Even though it says 3 to 5 players, unless they've changed some of the rules, I don't have enough things for 5 players, and I've never seen it work with 3. So it says best at 4, but I've only because I think on my box it says 4 players only. But this is kind of an interesting game where you're playing cards and you're getting resources and doing certain things. I think it's fun. It's an interesting game, but I don't get to play it very much, which is kind of sad. I'm going to put it in 4 because I really want to play it just because the player count's so limited. I'm going to go till the end of P here, and then I'm going to stop because I still have a huge amount of games, so I will probably have to do a third one. So let's just go through the rest of P, which I only have a couple left. So photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is a beautiful looking game, and you look at it, it has immaculate table presence. That looks gorgeous. The trees look amazing and awesome. What you're doing is you're planting trees on this board. You starting with some base trees at the edge, and you can, on your turn, you can either grow a tree or drop a seed, which dropping a seed, you can do 1 or 2 spaces away from your current tree, and you can just grow or drop a seed, and that's every turn for you. And the goal is you want to get your trees to grow big so they can get you lots of points. When you grow your tree big and then cut it down, you'll get points based on the tile type you're on, 1, 2, or 3 leaves, or 4, and the more you have, the more expensive you get, or more bigger value tokens. The crux of why this game is interesting is there's a sun moving around, and so you're only getting points for those trees, or you're only able to grow them if the sun touches your base of your tree. So if you have a tree that's 3 tall, 3 spaces away will not get light, and so in a direction, and so it moves every turn. And so if you stack up a bunch of tall trees on one side, other people are not going to get light. But it's also going to be hard for you to get light because you're based on one side of the board. So it's a fun game, but you can get yourself into a real mess really quick to where people take victory away from you pretty quickly. There is an expansion out for this. I do not have it. I do think the game is fun, but I'm going to put it as a 6. It just drops below that point of something that I would recommend to a lot of people. Pocket Imperium. So there's a type of game called 4X, which stands for exploration, exploitation. Hold on, they probably have it in here because the cards are named that. There's explore. Where is it? Expand, explore, exterminate, and there's another exploit, I think, is the other one. Exploit. So it's 4. That's what 4X stands for, because there's X's in there. 4EX, 4X. And Pocket Imperium is a tiny version of a 4X game. It these are the pieces. This is about the size of the board, and you're basically moving from planet to planet, messing with other people by fighting them, exploring more space, and like getting resources and stuff. It's a really tiny version of a giant style game, and it can be played in like 45 minutes. And so people who really love that 4X style game, this is great for them. Most people I play games with do not like the 4X thing. It's too complicated. It's way too much time investment. But this game doesn't do that. It's a lot smaller, but it just never comes to the table because of it. I would like to play this more. I'm going to give this a 5. I need to play it more to really give it a better judge, but right now it's just in the middle because I don't get to play it. Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time. Amazing name for a game. When you look at this board, it looks like a clue board. With a clock in the center. This is a cooperative game, and it works in the way of Professor Evil is collecting artifacts, and he has them in his house. And you and your team are breaking in to his house, turning off certain security measures that he has in order to steal those items. He, on the other hand, is going to be walking around the house, stopping you randomly by the dice that you roll. You only have so many turns to get those items out. Each item has a different turn amount, and they all have different things that for the security that needs to be turned off. If Professor Evil walks into your square, you get kicked out of the house. If he walks through a door, he locks it behind him. And so you are basically trying to make it around, unlock certain doors, flip over certain security so you can steal these items. You are trying to steal more items than Dr. Evil gets to keep and put in his into his safe. So as long as you get to 4 before he gets to 4, you win. The art on this game is fantastic. If I can find, here are what some of the cards look like. It's got that cool retrofuturism aesthetic to it, kind of steampunkish. It looks pretty cool. It's a very fun game. I'm gonna probably give this game an 8. I think it requires cooperative conversation and you to work really well. And the last game that I'm going to be covering tonight is Pulsar 2849. This is one of the games that breaks my rules of I do not buy games that have a year in it. Because generally years games are games that are about a war or about certain historical things. And a lot of those games are really, really heavy. Pulsar is a pretty heavy game, but if you look at everything, it's very complicated in terms of the way it looks. The way that it plays is so simple and so clean. I love it. Here's your number of rounds. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds. That's it. Every single time there's a round, this token moves down. Over here, on this thing, this track to the right, tokens move down and enables more actions for you to do. On turn, somebody rolls all the dice and they separate them on this grid over here to the left side, and then the middle of the dice gets picked. So if you have there's 7 dice and there's 1 through 6, and let's say you roll and you get 1 through 6, and then there's another 5. So that means that the little yellow marker that goes on there lands on the 4 because that's the middlemost dice. So there's 6, 2 5s, and the 4. That's the 4th dice, and there's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4th dice. So it's in the middle. Everything above that moves you down on the track on that side, and everything below that moves you up on the track based on its distance away from the center. And so you'll go up and down victory depending on what you do. 6s are always better. 6s can move you around the board. They can trigger better actions. They can do more stuff. But sometimes you want a 1 or 2. To do certain things. This game is just filled with so many things. The theme-wise, you're exploring space, trying to get gyros to go to power up certain things in space, and you're trying to move around and claim certain areas and planets and stuff. It's a crazy good game. I love Pulsar. It's fantastic. And that's like it's a number game. It's a game that has a year in it, and I have it. So that should tell you that it's a good game. I'm gonna give Pulsar 2849 an 8. It deserves probably a little bit more than that, but it is a fantastic game, and I love it. Okay, I've reached the end of the P's. There's not, I don't think, too many crazy things left. I know I have like a whole page of Star Trek Attack Wing coming up that I'm only rating the base game. So there, I don't think I have too much because I have R's to Z's. So I'll just cover that in my next one, which will probably only be, I think, an hour, where this one's like 2 hours. Thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate you being here. All my currently 5 viewers. I think I had a total of like 7 at one point. So thank you guys for coming and chatting and checking it out. I will go through the rest of these for part 3, and I will get this list finished and finally ranked. I'm going to be excited that I'll have this done, because then I can just rate it as I start to play them, which will be nice. But thanks for chilling. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, have a wonderful